the Sultai revere the ruthlessness of the dragon. So what they believe is, you win, do whatever it takes to win. The key to victory is not ruling anything out, And they're like, a lot of the ways to win the fight might be before the fight begins. Maybe you bribe the opponent. Maybe you kill the opponent. Maybe you threaten the opponent. Maybe you blackmail the opponent. Who cares? Whatever you got to do.
The Sultai dwell in opulent, decadent palaces in the jungle. That's their base of operations where they're trying to take over all of Tarkir. They employ hordes of undead servants. They are well versed in necromancy, and they use their power of necromancy to buttress their army. So if you do not join the Sultai, they will seek to force you to join the Sultai after death.
So the Sultai are black, green, and blue. Black is their primary color because they're really all about doing what it takes, that very sort of, I will use my own resources, I will throw away my own minions, I will certainly dig things up from the graveyard and use them against you. They're also green from the jungle, from that cycle of life that happens, and they're blue because they're very clever.
The Khan of the Sultai is Sidisi. She refers to herself as Queen Sidisi. She believes that all of Tarkir would benefit in being under one banner, as long as that was her banner.
Sidisi Brood Tyrant is one of my least favorite cards in the set from a development point of view. I don't normally like to make it as obvious that the development team has come through and put its fingers on cards. In the case of Sidisi, it did not always only make one zombie per instance of moving cards from library to graveyard, but we tried it the other way, I promise you, and it was kind of disgusting, so we ended up where we did because we played it a lot and that was the power level that we thought was appropriate. We certainly think the card is good, but it was not really okay the other way.
You've got zombies coming, you've got cards to delve away, she's kind of doing everything you want. My one piece of advice is if you get her in limited, consider going above 40 cards so you don't actually deck yourself.
Delve is the Sultai mechanic, and what Delve is it's a way to help you cast your spells. So now, instead of just paying mana, you can also exile cards from your graveyard, and each card you exile is going to pay for one of that spell's mana cost. So there's a couple important things here. One is, once you start casting a spell, so if I have priority, it's my turn or what have you, and I announce a spell, your opponent can't respond and try to get cards out of your graveyard, so you can't pay. It's kind of like tapping land before I have a chance to use the mana from it. It just doesn't work. So once I announce that spell, I'm going to go through the whole process of casting it, putting it on the stack, choosing its targets, and paying its costs. And it's at that point that I can exile cards from my graveyard.
Originally, Delve was not even in the set, but design was having trouble finding the correct Sultai mechanic. And I asked Mark, well, why not Delve? You made Delve for Future Sight. It was only 3 cards. What's the problem? And his main problem was, well, people told me it doesn't work if you put a lot of Delve cards in your deck because they're all using your graveyard and eating it up. And I said, well, I think we can make it work if it's not a third of the set. If there are 6 mechanics, I think one of them could be Delve.
So whenever we had the opportunity, one of the little games we played ever since Future Sight came out is there are future shifted cards from the future, from potential futures, and that whenever possible, we like taking one of those cards and putting them into sets. Well, Delve was coming back. So we had Death Rattle, we had Logic Knot, we had Tombstalker. Okay, one of those cards we could find a place for in the set.
In place of Murderous Cut, we had Death Rattle in the file for months. Death Rattle, Future Sight card with Delve, destroy target non-green creature. Really weirdo Future Sight card. I mean, they all are, but a really weirdo Future Sight card. Why would a black card say destroy target non-green creature? Why would it protect green? Well, here, black and green are both in the Sultai clan, so that kind of makes sense. And Death Rattle, kind of a snake thing, and this is a clan ruled by Naga, so it actually makes sense here. This is the future that Death Rattle came from. So we held fast onto it, we protected it, we kept it in there, and it was because it was so cute, it was so perfect, and eventually it was cut in favor of a just better card.
Murderous Cut is probably the strongest Eternal format card in the set. The delta that you get when you start playing in a world that has brainstorms and a bunch of 1-mana cantrips and lots of fetch lands, that card just gets really good really fast. So I look forward to seeing that in some Legacy deck lists for here real soon.
Ken Nagel saw the art of a gigantic turtle with a city on its back, and he just had to design a card to match that, so he made Meandering Tower Shell, or as he called it, Turtle McDurtle.
So in the style guide, there was a very large turtle that was kind of its own walking island thing that was in the Sultai part of the world guide. So I said, we can make this a card, and I've always wanted to make a creature that was so slow when it attacks that it takes 2 entire turns to actually attack you. That's how I came up with the design of the Meandering Tower Shell.
Dig Through Time is an interesting experiment. The goal on that card is to be a powerful blue card advantage spell whose power comes more from the choices you get to make than the raw card advantage that you get. Often with stuff like Jace's Ingenuity or Divination or Factor Fiction or whatever, Factor Fiction especially is just a perfect example of a card where you're just trying to draw more cards and you don't care what they are, and that kind of washes out what is happening with the individual cards from the game because you just trade off cards and you're up. Where Dig Through Time does not put you massively up cards, but it puts you massively up in card quality. So if you have really awesome cards to go find, that will certainly help you go find it, and we think that's a more interesting direction for blue card advantage cards to go than just grind you out with more cards.
In the Sultai clan, there are the Rakshasha. And for some reason, I cannot pronounce that word, and the other designers and developers figured this out, so it became a game of trying to get Mark to say this word as many times as humanly possible.
What word?
Rakshasha. Cat people.
Black, green, blue. The ruthlessness of the dragon. The Sultai.